In the vastness of space, the Galactic Armory floated like a giant metal flower. Ships from 100 worlds came and went, trading weapons and defense systems. The station was the most important place in the galaxy for any species that wanted to protect themselves. Humans were new to space travel. They had only learned to go faster than light 10 years ago. Now they wanted to join the armory, to trade with other species and learn from them. Admiral Sung-Ho Lee led the human group. He was tall and proud in his blue uniform with gold buttons. Next to him stood Captain June Park, who knew more about human weapons than anyone else. Behind them were 20 other important people from Earth. As their ship approached the armory, everyone grew quiet. Through the windows they could see how huge it was. The station had 5 main arms, each bigger than the largest city on Earth. Light sparkled along its surface and hundreds of ships moved around it. "Remember," Admiral Lee said to his team, "we need to be respectful. We are guests here." When they docked, guards with blue skin and 4 arms met them. The guards didn't speak but motioned for the humans to follow. They walked through wide hallways with high ceilings. Strange smells filled the air, and the sounds of unknown languages echoed around them. They entered a round room with 11 tall chairs arranged in a circle. In each chair sat a different alien. Some had many eyes, others no eyes at all. Some had fur, scales, or skin that changed color. One seemed to be made of living crystal. "The human delegation may approach," said a voice that seemed to come from everywhere. Admiral Lee stepped forward and bowed. "Honorable Council, we thank you for seeing us. Earth wishes to join the Galactic Armory as a trading partner," the crystal being shifted, sending rainbows across the floor. "I am Moda, head of this council. Why should we allow humans to trade here?" "We have much to offer," Lee said. He motioned to Captain Park, who opened a case. Inside were samples of human technology, small energy weapons, shield generators, and defense systems. A tall alien with gray skin leaned forward. "These are primitive. We are young as a spacefaring species," Lee admitted. "But we learn quickly. And we can offer new ideas, fresh perspectives." The council members looked at each other. Some made sounds that might have been laughter. "Show us your best weapon," said an alien with 3 heads. Captain Park brought out their pride, a small device that could disable electronics without harming living things. The council examined it without speaking. Minutes passed. The humans waited, growing more nervous. Finally, Moda spoke. "The council has decided humans are denied membership to the Galactic Armory." Admiral Lee couldn't believe what he heard. "May we ask why?" "Your species fights too much among yourselves. Your technology is undeveloped. You are too dangerous and too weak at the same time. Come back in 100 years, perhaps." The humans were stunned. They had traveled so far, prepared so carefully, only to be rejected in minutes. As they turned to leave, a young engineer named Min-Ho Kang stayed behind, looking at the room's design. He hadn't spoken during the meeting. He wasn't important like the others, but his eyes noticed things no one else saw. Min-Ho saw how the station's cooling systems worked. He saw waste pipes and energy flows, and he realized something amazing. The armory was wasting huge amounts of energy. On Earth, where resources were limited, engineers had solved this problem long ago. As the group walked back to their ship, Min-Ho touched Admiral Lee's arm. "Sir, I know why they rejected us, but I also know how we can change their minds." "Not now, Kang," the Admiral said, his voice tired. "But sir, their station, it's inefficient. I can help them fix it. The solution is simple, but they've never thought of it. They called our technology primitive. Sometimes the simplest ideas are the best ones," Min-Ho said. "On Earth, we learned to reuse everything. These aliens, for all their advanced weapons, are wasteful." The Admiral stopped walking and looked at the young engineer. Something in Min-Ho's eyes made him listen. "What are you suggesting?" "Let me show them how to improve their station. If I can do that, maybe they'll see humans differently." "Admiral," Lee thought for a moment, then nodded slowly. "We have nothing to lose. The worst they can do is reject us again." Min-Ho smiled. He hadn't come to space to talk about weapons. He had come to build things, to solve problems. And now he had found the biggest problem of all: how to change the minds of beings who had already decided humans weren't worth their time. Admiral Lee arranged a meeting with Counselor Ravi, the youngest member of the Armory Council. Minho stayed up all night preparing his ideas. While others slept, he worked on diagrams and calculations, trying to make everything perfect. The next morning, Minho followed Admiral Lee through the station corridors. His hands shook slightly as he carried his tablet with all his work. They entered a small room where a bird-like alien waited. Counselor Ravi had golden feathers and 3 large eyes that blinked in different patterns. "You have exactly 10 minutes, Ravi said. "The council's decision is final, but I agreed to hear your appeal." Minho stepped forward. He was not used to speaking to important people, but he knew his idea was good. "I don't want to talk about weapons," Minho said. "I want to talk about your station's energy system." Ravi tilted his head. "Our energy system?" Minho placed his tablet on the table and pressed a button. A 3D image of the armory appeared, with red lines showing energy flows. "Your station wastes almost 60% of the energy it produces," Minho explained. "The heat from your reactors goes straight into space." "That is normal," Ravi said. "All stations vent heat. On Earth, we can't afford to waste energy like that. We had to solve this problem centuries ago." Minho touched the image, and it changed to show his solution. "This is a thermal recapture system. It takes waste heat and turns it back into usable energy." Ravi's feathers ruffled slightly. "This is interesting, but very simple." "Simple ideas often work best," Minho said. He showed more diagrams. "With this system, you could power your whole security network using just the waste heat from your main reactor." For the first time, Ravi seemed truly interested. He looked closely at the diagrams. "If what you say is true, this would save considerable resources." "I can prove it," Minho said. "Let me build a small version to show you." Ravi thought for a moment. "The maintenance section on level 7 has a small reactor. You may have access for 1 day." Admiral Lee looked surprised at this offer. Minho smiled and bowed. "Thank you. I'll need some basic materials and tools." Ravi made a note on his own device. "They will be provided tomorrow at first shift." When they left the meeting, Admiral Lee looked at Minho. "Do you really think this will work?" "The technology is proven," Minho said. "But convincing them to accept help from humans, that's the hard part." The next day, Minho was shown to a small reactor room. The alien technicians watched him with what seemed like amusement. They gave him tools he had requested, though some were strange to his hands. Hour after hour, Minho worked. His hands became dirty and sore, but he didn't stop. He connected pipes and sensors, adjusted settings, and tested connections. The aliens watched at first, then began to ask questions. Minho explained everything he did, showing them the simple logic behind each step. By the end of the day, Minho had built a small version of his system. It connected to a minor cooling pipe from the reactor. "Turn it on," he told the head technician. The alien pressed a button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then numbers on a nearby screen began to change. The system was capturing waste heat and converting it to power. 5% efficiency improvement, an alien technician said, surprise in its voice. "Wait," Minho said. He adjusted some settings. "Now try." The numbers jumped again. 12%. The technician's eyes widened. From such a simple system, word spread quickly. By evening, 3 more council members had come to see the small device. They spoke in their own languages, pointing and discussing. Minho couldn't understand their words, but he recognized their excitement. Counselor Ravi returned as Minho was finishing his work. "The council is impressed," Ravi admitted. "This technology is indeed useful." "This is just a rough version," Minho said. "A properly designed system could improve efficiency by 40% or more." Ravi's feathers shimmered in what Minho guessed was surprise. "That would save enough energy to power a small moon colony." "Yes," Minho said. And it's just one example of human innovation. We had to learn to preserve and reuse because our planet's resources are limited. Perhaps, Ravi said slowly, we judged your species too quickly. We don't want your weapons technology, Minho said. We want to share ideas, to learn and teach. Ravi was quiet for a moment. There is an old tradition in the armory. A species can earn consideration through a challenge of innovation. What's that? Minho asked. You would be given 1 month to improve a major system on the armory. If you succeed, humans would be granted probationary membership. Minho thought about the enormous task, the pressure, the responsibility. Then he nodded. I accept the challenge. The news of Minho's challenge spread quickly through the human delegation. Some thought he was brave. Others thought he was foolish. How could one person change the minds of beings who had been building space stations for thousands of years? Admiral Lee called a meeting in their ship. Everyone gathered in the main room, sitting in a circle around Minho. You've put us in a difficult position, Lee said. If you fail, humans will be banned from the armory for 500 years, not just 100. Minho nodded. I understand the risk, but I also see the opportunity. Captain Park frowned. What exactly is this challenge you accepted? I have 1 month to improve the armory's main power system, Minho explained. If I can increase efficiency by at least 20%, humans will be given membership. An older engineer named Ji-Wan shook her head. Impossible. Their technology is far beyond ours. Not in all ways, Minho said. They've never had to worry about running out of resources. We have. That's our advantage. Admiral Lee stood up. The challenge has been accepted. We must support Minho. Who will stay and help? 5 engineers raised their hands. The rest would return to Earth to report what had happened. The next day, Minho was taken to the central power core of the armory. It was a huge room with a ceiling so high he could barely see it. In the center stood a matter-antimatter reactor, glowing with blue light. Pipes and cables ran in all directions, disappearing into the walls. This is where you will work, Counselor Ravi said. You may use our tools and materials. 4 of our engineers will assist you. Minho looked at the alien engineers. They didn't seem happy about helping a human. Thank you, Minho said. I'd like to start by seeing your system plans. One of the aliens brought up a 3D model of the reactor and its connections. Minho studied it carefully. The system was complex, but the waste was obvious to him. Heat was being vented into space. Energy was being lost in transfers. The efficiency was poor by Earth standards. I'll need to make a complete plan before we start any changes, Minho said. For 3 days, Minho and his human team studied the armory's power system. They made notes, drew diagrams, and ran calculations. The alien engineers watched with growing interest. On the 4th day, Minho presented his plan to the alien team. We'll add thermal capture units here, here, and here, he said, pointing to the model. Then we'll rebuild these transfer nodes to reduce energy loss. This will require shutting down sections of the station, one alien said. Yes, but only for short periods, Minho replied. We can work in stages. The alien team leader named Dorn looked skeptical. The council must approve this plan. Then let's show them, Minho said. Later that day, Minho stood before 7 council members. He explained his plan step by step, showing how each change would improve the system. This is ambitious, Moda said, his crystal body reflecting the room's lights. But possible, Ravi added. Our engineers have reviewed the plan and believe it could work. If it fails, it could damage the station, another council member said. We'll test each change on a small scale first, Minho assured them. Safety is our priority. After much discussion, the council approved the plan. Work would begin the next day. For the next 2 weeks, Minho and his team worked long hours. They built new components, installed thermal capture units, and rewired energy transfer nodes. The alien engineers, at first reluctant, became more helpful as they saw the logic of Minho's designs. There were problems, of course. Some materials behaved differently than expected. Some station systems were more complex than the plan showed. Twice they had to stop work to rethink their approach. One day, Minho discovered that someone had reversed the connections on a new thermal unit, making it useless. It seemed like sabotage, but he couldn't prove it. He simply fixed the problem and moved on. Someone doesn't want us to succeed, Ji-won said quietly. Then we'll have to work harder, Minho replied. By the end of the third week, they had completed about half of the planned changes. Early tests showed a 12% improvement in efficiency. It was progress, but not enough to win the challenge. Counselor Ravi visited often to check their work. Some on the council are impressed with your progress, he told Minho. Others are waiting for you to fail. We won't fail, Minho said, though he wasn't as confident as he sounded. Then, during the 22nd day, something unexpected happened. Dorn, the alien team leader who had been so skeptical, came to Minho with an idea. Your thermal capture system is good, Dorn said, but I think we can improve it further. On my homeworld, we use different materials for heat transfer. He showed Minho a design for a new type of thermal unit using a crystal material the humans had never seen before. With this, we might increase efficiency by another 10%, Dorn said. Minho studied the design and smiled. This is brilliant. Why didn't you suggest it earlier? Dorn's skin changed color slightly, perhaps showing embarrassment. I did not think a human plan could work. Now I see that good ideas can come from anywhere. The final days of the challenge were the hardest. Minho slept only a few hours each night. His hands were rough from work, and his eyes were tired from reading technical plans. But he never complained. Too much was at stake. With Dorn's help, the team created new thermal units using the crystal material. They were more efficient than anything Minho had designed before. When they installed the first one, the power readings jumped immediately. This is working better than we expected, Ji-won said, checking the numbers on her tablet. Minho nodded. Let's install the rest quickly. They worked day and night. Human and alien engineers now worked side by side, sharing ideas and solving problems together. The initial distrust had faded. They were united by the challenge and the excitement of creating something new. On the 27th day, they faced their biggest test. To complete the system, they needed to connect their new equipment to the main reactor. This required shutting down power to 1/5 of the station for 2 hours. If anything goes wrong, many systems will fail, Dorn warned. We've tested everything twice, Minho said. It will work. The council granted permission for the shutdown, but many members were nervous. Thousands of beings lived and worked in the affected section. They would have emergency power only. As the time for the shutdown approached, Minho checked every connection, again. His hands were steady, but his heart beat fast. This was the moment that would decide everything. Ready? He asked his team. They all nodded. Begin shutdown, Minho told the control room. Lights dimmed across a huge section of the armory. Emergency systems activated, casting a red glow through the corridors. Minho and his team moved quickly, connecting their new systems to the main power core. 20 minutes remaining, a voice announced over the speakers. Minho connected the final cable himself. It was heavy, and he needed Dorn's help to lift it into place. When it locked with a solid click, they both stepped back. System complete, Minho said. Begin restart sequence. The power core hummed as energy began flowing through the new connections. Minho watched the readings carefully. Everything looked normal. Then an alarm sounded. Pressure increasing in Section 12, Ji-won called out. Something's blocking the flow. Minho ran to the control panel. The readings showed a dangerous pressure buildup in one of the new thermal units. We need to release it manually, he said. Otherwise, it could rupture. The release valve was in a narrow space behind the reactor. Without thinking, Minho squeezed into the gap. He could feel the heat from the nearby pipes. The valve was stuck, refusing to turn. 10 minutes until critical pressure, Ji-won warned. Minho pushed harder, feeling the skin on his palms tear. Suddenly, A large, three-fingered hand reached past him. It was Dorn. Together, the alien said. They both turned the valve with all their strength. For a moment nothing happened. Then with a loud hiss the valve opened. Steam escaped through a vent and the pressure readings began to drop. 5 minutes remaining in shutdown period, the voice announced. They barely made it back to the control room in time. Minho gave the order to complete the restart. Everyone held their breath as the systems came back online. Slowly, lights returned to normal brightness across the station. Systems reactivated one by one. And the power readings. They were better than anyone had expected. Efficiency increase of 32%, Ji-Wan announced, her voice filled with amazement. And still rising, Dorn added. The system is optimizing itself. By the end of the day, the efficiency increase had reached 37%. It was far beyond the 20% required by the challenge. News spread quickly through the station. The next morning, Counselor Ravi came to see them. His feathers were fluffed out in what Minho had learned was a sign of excitement. The council is impressed, Ravi said. Your system has improved power throughout the station. Even sections that were not directly modified are working better. It's the network effect, Minho explained. When one part improves, it helps everything connected to it. There is more, Ravi continued. Our engineers have examined your work and found that it has also reduced strain on the station's structure. The reduced heat and vibration will extend the life of the armory by many years. Minho smiled. That was an unexpected benefit. The council wishes to see you tomorrow for a formal review, Ravi said. But I can tell you now, you have succeeded in your challenge. That night, the human team celebrated with their alien colleagues. They shared food and drinks, though some things were not safe for both species to consume. They told stories of their homeworlds and their journeys to space. Minho sat quietly for a while, watching everyone. He had come to the armory to help humans join the galactic community. Instead, he had helped create something new, a true collaboration between species. You are thinking deep thoughts, Dorn said, sitting beside him. I'm thinking that sometimes being rejected is the beginning, not the end, Minho replied. Dorn made a sound that might have been laughter. Tomorrow, you will change the armory. Forever. For the first time, Minho felt they might actually succeed. Minho stood before the full council the next day. All 11 members were present, their seats arranged in a perfect circle. The room was filled with other important beings from across the galaxy. Station officials, ship captains, and representatives from many worlds. Admiral Lee and the remaining human team stood behind Minho. In the center of the room, a large hologram showed the new power system. It rotated slowly, highlighting the changes Minho's team had made. Numbers and graphs floated alongside it, showing the improved efficiency. Engineer Minho Kang, Mota said, his crystal body glowing bright blue. You have completed the challenge of innovation. The results have been verified by our experts. Minho bowed slightly. Thank you, Counselor. The final measurements show an efficiency improvement of 41%, Mota continued. This exceeds the requirement by more than double. A murmur ran through the crowd. Even Minho was surprised by the final number. The system had continued to improve as it adjusted itself. According to our tradition, this means humans will be granted membership to the Galactic Armory, Mota said. You may trade here and learn from other species. Minho had prepared for this moment. He knew what he wanted to say. Honorable Council, he began, I am grateful for this opportunity. But before you make your final decision, I wish to speak. Mota's light pulsed in what might have been surprise. You may speak. Minho took a deep breath. When you rejected humanity, you said we were too violent, too unpredictable. You judged us by our weapons. He pointed to the hologram. This system has nothing to do with weapons. It's about using resources wisely. It's about making things better for everyone. Minho walked slowly around the circle, looking at each council member. On Earth, we faced many problems: climate disasters, resource shortages, pollution. We had to learn to fix these problems or die. We didn't survive because we built better weapons. We survived because we learned to work together and find creative solutions. He stopped in front of Moda. The Galactic Armory is known as a place to trade weapons, but what if it could be more? What if it could be a place where species share all kinds of technology, not just for fighting, but for living better? The war room was very quiet. No one had expected this kind of speech from a human engineer. "What are you suggesting?" Counselor Ravi asked. "Create a new section of the armory," Minho said. "A place for trading technologies that help life, not just defend it. Medical systems, clean energy, food production, things every species needs." He turned to look at the crowd. "During this challenge, I worked with engineers from 5 different species. We didn't always understand each other at first. We had different ways of thinking. But when we shared our ideas, we created something better than any of us could have made alone." Minho faced the council again. "That's what humanity wants to offer. Not our weapons, but our creativity. Our ability to look at old problems in new ways." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Dorn stepped forward. "I have worked with this human," he said. "At first, I thought humans were simple and backward. Now I see they have much to teach us. I support his idea." Another council member, a being with 6 arms and skin like flowing water, spoke next. "The armory was founded to maintain balance of power, not to improve lives." "Why can't it do both?" Minho asked. "Strong defenses are important, but so is making life better for everyone." The council members looked at each other. Some seemed intrigued, others doubtful. Finally, Moda spoke. "This is an unusual request. We must consider it carefully." To everyone's surprise, he turned to the other council members. "I propose we vote, now in public. This is a matter that affects all species." One by one, the council members voted. Some voted quickly, others took time to think. When all 11 had voted, Moda announced the result. By 7 votes to 4, the council approves the creation of a new division within the Galactic Armory. It will be called the Exchange of Life Technologies. Cheers erupted from many in the crowd, including the human team. Minho felt relief wash over him. They had done more than win membership. They had changed the armory itself. "Engineer Kang," Moda said when the noise died down. "The council offers you the position of first director of this new exchange. You have 1 day to decide." Minho was stunned. He looked back at Admiral Lee, who nodded with approval. "I accept," Minho said. With gratitude. In the days that followed, news spread across the galaxy. The armory, unchanged for centuries, was evolving. Species that had never shown interest in weapons began to request membership. Knowledge long kept secret was shared and improved upon. 6. Months later, Minho stood in the new exchange hall. It was already bustling with activity. Beings from 30 different worlds displayed technologies for growing food in harsh conditions, purifying water, healing injuries, and 100 other uses. Dorn approached him, carrying a small object. "The first product of our continuing cooperation," he said, handing it to Minho. It was a miniature version of their thermal system, designed for use in small communities. "Mass production begins next week," Dorn said. "It will help millions." Minho smiled. "This is just the beginning." And it was. The species that had been rejected as too violent became known throughout the galaxy for something unexpected. Their ability to bring people together, to see connections others missed, and to turn survival skills into tools for thriving. The weapons remained important, but something new had been born among the stars, and it had started with one human who saw waste where others saw nothing at all.